Good morning, this is Mike Otranto. Thanks for visiting my YouTube channel. What I want to talk about today is leasing. How leasing benefits the seller of a transaction. Those of you that know me know that I buy houses in Raleigh, North Carolina, primarily the Wake County area. I do love the areas of Apex, Garner, Raleigh, of course, Chapel Hill. I've never bought anything out in Wake Forest, but I would. Sometimes as far south as Fuquay, Holly Springs, occasionally Durham, Chapel Hill. I've never bought anything out in Chapel Hill, but it's definitely a great area of North Carolina, in the Triangle. Now, I've done various amounts of lease deals. I love leasing. I think it's a great idea. I think it benefits the seller in that if you're the owner of a property and you need to sell fast, if you need to sell a home, and if you absolutely need to sell that house fast, what you're going to have to do is, if someone's going to come along and buy the house fast, you're going to, with cash, you're going to have to discount that property substantially. So cash for homes, usually the strategies that I see when people are selling cash for homes, or an investor is buying with cash for homes, they're buying maybe an older property. It's usually a rehab. It's usually a property that needs lots and lots of repairs, usually at least $10,000 or more. These are usually older properties where there was originally a mortgage on it, but the mortgage has been paid off. Maybe the house has been vacant for a long time. And now you have to understand now, if let's say we have a house that's worth $100,000 and it needs $20,000 worth of work. So that really means that, now if a house is worth $100,000 and it needs $20,000 worth of work, that's what we call an after repaired value of $100,000. So in its current condition, what is it worth? Well, it's not really worth $80,000, because who's going to come along with $20,000 in cash? Shell out $80,000 at risk. They don't know when they're going to get that money back. Put in another $20,000 worth of repairs, and what do they have? They have something worth $100,000. Let's say they rent it out at $1,000 a month. You take off 20% for vacancies and repairs. That's $8,000 for the year. That's also an 8% cash-on-cash return. You're not going to get a lot of investors that are going to want to buy that, because that is not substantial compensation to risk $100,000 in cash. Even if an investor has $1 million, that's 10% of their overall cash position in one asset. They're not going to want to do that. Most people that have the financial discipline to come up with $1 million is going to have enough experience not to want to allocate 10% of their resources into one pot like that. They're only going to want to buy the house for $50,000 or $60,000. And you have to understand too that the cash buyer, is the customer in these transactions. So what happens when we go to the mall, or when we go shopping, or when we go online and we're not real happy with what we see? Maybe the store clerk is nasty. What do? We leave. We go and we spend our money somewhere else. We have a right to say where we're going to spend our dollar. And if we're not thrilled with what we're buying, then we'll just go buy something else. It's that simple. So let's go back to my original question, why I love leasing so much. If a seller is willing to lease the property to a buyer for a given amount of money per month, that means that $100,000 property, that means that buyer does not have to come out of pocket the $80,000. That is a huge advantage, because you can agree on a price later down the road, and you can be very flexible with what that purchase price is going to be. But the fact that the investor does not have to come out of pocket the $80,000 and only has to come out of pocket, let's say, the $20,000, that is a major advantage, because let's say the repairs go over. In a repair estimate, it's just an estimate. You don't know what kind of repairs you're going to run into once you start rehabbing the property. So let's say it runs over to $30,000. If you're leasing the property for a few $100s a month, it's not damaging. It's not as detrimental as it would be if the investor had to come out of pocket the $80,000 or even the $50,000 that the investor was really going to pay you. So it can be much more flexible when financing of this nature is put into place. The investor can pay the seller a higher purchase price at the end of the lease term. you know, the terms of the lease are going to vary, and you know, it depends on a lot of different factors. But leasing is so much more flexible. There's so much more things that can be done. The investor can pay the seller more money. It's less risk for the investor. Everybody can benefit from the transaction, and you just have to open up your mind. I'm about to do a blog post to what exactly is a lease. A lot of people, when they sell their home, and they ask them if they would let me lease it, they don't know what I'm talking about. So I just want to go over to. I'm going to do another video and another blog post on MikeOtranto.com on what a lease is and the technicals of it. It's actually very simple. It's very basic. If you've ever leased a car, it's pretty much the same thing. But subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing a series of these videos throughout this year. If you have any questions, you can give me a call on my cell phone. That's 919-667-6331. Also, go to my blog at www.mikeotranto.com. There's a lot of helpful information there that I do not charge for. And have a great week.